Hello and welcome to this video on the main practice in the new book, Embracing Anxiety, which is called Conscious Questioning for Anxiety. And I've brought together three of our Anxioneers, who are people in the dynamic emotional integration community, who sat with me and talked with me and argued with me as I wrote this book. And it was wonderful. And the book is better because of them. So first, next to me on my screen is Bobbi McIntyre, who was in the first cohort of Dynamic Emotional Integration, which is DEI. And Bobbi is from South Carolina. Down below Bobbi on my screen is Francine Bélanger. She is from Ontario, Canada, and she is also in the first cohort. And then below me on my screen is Camilla Jørgensen, who's from Denmark, and she's from the second cohort of DEI. Yeah, second cohort. Bobbi and Francine, you have to go, cohort one. Yeah, who's the best? We're all a family once we get out of the cohorts. But this practice called Conscious Questioning for Anxiety leans into the skills and gifts of anxiety rather than doing what a lot of us have been taught, which is to run away from anxiety, calm it down, to push it over there, to try to put happiness on top of it, or whatever emotion we like better. But this practice works with what anxiety does, which is it brings us the energy and intelligence and skills we need to get our tasks done and meet our deadlines and gather whatever we need. The first thing that we talk about, though, in this chapter is list making, which is another magic practice for anxiety. So if you're a list maker, you're already working with anxiety. But Bobbi had some points about list making that she's found over the years of working with anxiety. And what are some of those?
Well, one of the first things is that list making is really unique to everybody. Some people like to make different sorts of lists and it really helps. Some people like to make round ones that are called mind mapping. We talked about mind mapping with DEI folks, and essentially what it is you put the central idea in the middle, and then you have radiuses of tasks that go into that, and then you do sub tasks under that. And so for me, the thing about the mind map is I can see everything that has to be done at once, but it's overwhelming to try and work off of that. So what I found to be useful is just to make stream of consciousness lists where I just write everything. We recently moved our farm from Virginia to South Carolina, and I don't know what I would have done without list making. We made list after list after list. First, it started to be big stuff, and then as we got more overwhelmed, we narrowed it down and narrowed it down and narrowed it down until it was in bite-sized portions that we could actually do. And my husband was really instrumental behind that. And the cool thing about it was we'd make the list that was bite-sized portions, and he'd go off, and I wouldn't pay any attention to what he was doing, and he wouldn't pay any attention to what I was doing. And eventually we'd go back to the list, and half of it was already done. And we never really checked back with it. It was just, it became part of our, okay, here's what we're doing. And anxiety helped us pick the right ones.
Yeah.
Sometimes it helps to actually prioritize the lists to right now, soon, and eventually. And in fact, one of the questions that Carla has introduced and that I use all the time is, what truly needs to be done right now? And that really helps to narrow it down. And anxiety will tell you, and just the first thought that comes to your head is, for me, is what needs to be done.
Yeah.
And briefly, I wanted to say there are different styles for people. there's the task-oriented style, which I'm very task-oriented. And once I get going, I'll put my head down and just go. And so I need to start including self-care in my list because it's never been on my list. I'm very, very task-oriented. And then there's the deadline-focused folks who may find mind mapping more helpful. I don't know because I'm not one of them. But, you can use setting small deadlines along the way to help you stop from procrastinating or procrastinate to the small deadline and then move on from there.
Yeah.
So those were some of the thoughts that I had, and I find list making to be fun and relieving and helpful for to lower my anxiousness, my activation through anxiety.
Yeah. And this conscious questioning process is a list. It's a list, right? And it's just a list of questions that you ask your anxiety and yourself when you're very anxious to see if you can start to organize yourself. And I like that point about self-care needs to be on the list. And Camilla, you were talking about what happens to your self-care when things get busy. Where does it go on the list? Where should it be and where does it go?
Well, it should be on the top, but it goes right down to the bottom. And sometimes the day has gone past and then I didn't get to it.
Yeah.
If I don't prioritize. So one thing I also do when I make lists is I ask myself not just what is important and then, okay, that needs to be taken care of right now, but also what do I value in the sense of this is also important for me because I value my health, for instance.
Yeah.
I value my self-care because I want to and I need to take care of myself. So then I've learned to put it on the top of the list. Like for instance, my exercise, the daily exercise I want to do, or also it can be remember to put in breaks, like small, maybe even just 5 minutes or 10-minute walk outside or something, because I can get quite focused and really also like Bobbi, be very task oriented and sort of hammer through and get stuff done and cross them off our list. And I really like that. Yeah, I also actually need some breaks sometimes because then I can actually in the end be more effective. So
yeah, rest is so important. And I also wanted to talk to Francine, but Francine is dealing with COVID internet. So she may be freezing, but we will work with this because everybody's working with this right now. Francine also has a pretty large list making ritual in her life. Would you agree?
My husband calls me the queen of lists.
The queen of lists.
Because I do ritual every Monday morning or Sunday afternoon. I write my list. So I adapt the list. I change it. I'll put little stars if all of a sudden something becomes more of a concern or more of a deadline, or I'll circle in red. You know, I do all those colors of stars. But the other thing as well that really helps me is that I support my anxiety by making sure I have pen and paper with me pretty much all the time.
Okay.
Like at night on my bedside, I'll have pen and paper. So if something comes up, rather than having to stay awake and repeating it in my head so I don't lose it, then I put it on paper. My anxiety knows I've looked after it and I can go back to sleep. And during the day, it's the same thing. You know, if an idea comes up, it's nice for me to just have my journal nearby or my actual list and just add or change things around, you know. So I find that very, very helpful.
Yeah, very helpful.
And, you know, so therefore, in order for first order of the day is to do some kind of exercise. You know, like I do have a ritual about that too. It's integrated in my day, because otherwise I'll know I'll get right into the day and I'll totally forget to exercise.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so you're putting exercise first. All right, so Camilla and Bobbi, we need to take that, and me too. We need to take that as put exercise first for real.
Commit to it.
Yeah, because I do that too. I'll get up in the morning and I'll suddenly have a flurry of emails, and exercise goes out the window. I am remembering to eat 3 meals, which is huge for me to be able to actually do that during a busy period. But the exercise, because it takes a while, right? And I have to get changed, and then this, and a shower, and so it becomes this big thing. And I think I need to smooth my exercise out. So I'll talk to my anxiety about that. So anxiety, let's make a list about how to do exercise. Francine?
but one of the things that is part of my exercise routine is some of the grounding, some of the boundary setting. So you see, like, therefore I integrate all of that.
Yeah.
So I'm set for the day. Because without it, I feel I'm not quite there, you know, I'm not quite present.
Francine is doing the DEI practices of grounding and boundaries and just getting everything organized. Francine, I would call you an anxiety shrine, which is someone that anxiety loves to visit, and that you've made this, you know, this sacred practice around addressing your anxiety. So thank you for bringing the sacredness of anxiety to this conversation. That is very helpful.
My pleasure.
Thank you. And thanks to your internet for working to the extent that it can during this difficult time. I wanted to look at a couple of the questions for consciously questioning your anxiety. And what we suggest you do is just write them down. And I think Camilla was saying that one of them is, can I delegate any tasks or ask for help? And that's something a lot of us forget completely when there's so much going on. We just keep loading ourselves up like we're pack horses. Another one is, what is one small task I can complete right now? That can help sort of smooth out and stabilize things if you're just overwhelmed. You just do a thing and then come back to it. So this question, this list making process is in Embracing Anxiety, and we invite you to embrace your anxiety, to become an anxiety shrine, as Francine is, and I'm trying to be, and, and to welcome this beautiful emotion into your life. Thanks so much, Bobbi and Francine and Camilla, for being here and talking about our friend anxiety. I've enjoyed talking with you. Thank you.
Thank you.